Science education, fitness too. Molecular Mom's got it all for you.
Okay, so I am here today with Marybeth Sykes, and she is the Director of Genetic Sciences, or Services, Director of Genetic Services at GX Sciences in Austin, Texas. So thank you for joining me today.
It's my pleasure.
Agreeing to do a little interview with her part of our mini-series, interviewing women in sciences who are living the life balance, working a career, and also having a family. So tell me a little bit about yourself, your career track, your education, and what you're doing right now.
Sure. So I graduated in 2014 from the University of Texas at MD Anderson. They have a school of health professions that specializes in laboratory career tracks, essentially. And my degree is in molecular genetic technology. So this education kind of specifically geared me towards working in molecular genetics in the clinical setting. I started out working in a pharmacogenomics lab as a technologist, where I gained a lot of hands-on experience with bench work, as well as getting well acquainted with regulatory aspects. From there, I joined another lab as the general supervisor for genomics, and was able to kind of expand on that experience and kind of grow my own skill set. Lastly, I moved recently to GX Sciences, where I'm in charge of all of their regulatory aspects, assay development, day-to-day operations, and things of that nature.
Okay. So you have a family, right? So you have two boys, and so how is that starting a family and balancing a family, especially your oldest? Your oldest has some special needs, right?
Right. So my oldest son, his name is Orion, is 9 years old, and right around the time I was deciding where I was going with my career and deciding on school and my education is the same time we found out his autism diagnosis. And his diagnosis kind of pushed me forward even more so to really dive into the scientific industry and clinical labs and kind of helping people find answers to certain things.
So it's kind of an inspiration to you to
a little
move
bit,
forward in your career.
And so I often get, asked the question, well, how do you balance that? And I honestly don't know any different, because that's just what my life is.
Right.
But he's definitely somebody that shows you a different way of looking at things sometimes. But he's a great kid, and he's, like you said, an inspiration for kind of what I do.
So what do you think are the biggest factors that have been crucial to you being able to balance finding the right balance for you personally and your family, to be able to balance your career duties, because you have been successful and you have quickly moved up through the ranks, and each position you get is more and more responsibility. How do you find that balance to be able to take care of your family responsibilities and yet also have a productive career life?
One of the biggest factors is a really strong support structure. So my husband is always there to kind of encourage me, and sometimes it has to be where he does more of the responsibilities and things with our children, and it's kind of a trade-off, and so sometimes it's him that does it, sometimes it's me that does it, and we just figure out that balance. And,
right.
And I think that's been really the biggest way to kind of even everything out.
Right. I think that's sort of been a theme for most of the women that I know that are successful in the STEM fields and also having families, is having that spouse or partner that is supportive for to be able to make that balance. And there's trade-offs, of course, because when you're focusing on one area, you have to give up some in the other areas.
Absolutely.
So having a spouse that's supportive of that, I think, is crucial. And I'm finding that that's kind of a key thread throughout all the women that I talk to, that they have that supportive spouse is kind of crucial to having a family as well as having a successful career.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not something I could do alone. It takes a team, and having somebody that's supportive of that is definitely a key part.
So would you recommend that other women scientists go the route that you have, go through like the MB certification program, or is there some other advice that you could give looking back? It's like this, you always have better perspective once you've been through it.
Sure. So I think the route that I specifically took is a good one. in the fact that the education that I got was very specific. So I'm specially trained to do what I do. It's not a general biology degree where you kind of have to start off, begging for a job at a lab. It kind of puts you in a position to where you can walk into a lab and say, I'm well qualified to do this, and you should hire me. And so certifications, whether it be molecular biology or other certifications that are available through ASCP, are definitely great routes, because you don't have to prove yourself. Your certification proves it for you. And I also say you got to take risks. Sometimes small companies are
the best way to get that experience.
Yeah, so it's definitely a trade-off of you get a lot of experience, but you also take a big leap of faith with it sometimes too.
But I think also with your qualifications, it's pretty easy to find something. It's just finding that right position that's going to suit what you need at that time.
Absolutely.
So, one last question. Of course, this typical sort of interview question: where do you see yourself in the future? Where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be ultimately? Do you think is with your career? Where do you see yourself going? What's your end goal?
So I see myself growing within, or growing with potentially a small lab as it kind of expands its test menu and its offerings and grows. To kind of move up with that lab itself, which is one of the reasons I'm pursuing a master's degree in business right now, so that while I can be educated on the science side of things, I also can understand
and help them build as a business.
Yes, to find a balance of those two things. So that's kind of where my end goal is at the moment.
Okay. All right. Well, I think those are all the questions I have.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Science education, fitness too. Molecular mom's got it all for you.